College and university grads, right? Finishing their schooling this time of year, looking forward to getting a paycheck for their efforts. But the average Canadian student's debt load runs in the neighborhood of $25,000. It takes a plan to deal with that type of debt. Author and financial consultant Lesley-Anne Scorgie is here to help. Lesley-Anne has authored a great book, has written a great book full of awesome advice, The Smart Girl's Guide to Getting Rich. Lesley-Anne in this morning, and we were just talking about this while Andy was doing his weather. Some students are swamped with debt coming out of school.
That's right. They leave and they have this cloud over their head.
Yeah.
And it's different from previous generations because the cost of education has increased so dramatically in the past 10 to 15 years. So they get out of school and the excitement that once was many years ago for others is just not quite there anymore because they go into work and they're exhausted and stressed out, and it's hard for them to manage their debt load when it's so large and they're so young. And oftentimes, because they have not received any financial education through the traditional education system, or maybe their parents didn't talk to them about how to manage their debt, they're often wondering, like, what the heck? How am I supposed to get out of this?
Yeah.
And how do I feel good in the process without sacrificing so much to get ahead?
And, I mean, it would seem daunting with all the zeros.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's a lot of cash for coming right out of university. 25K. I mean, it's not a drop in the bucket.
No, it's not. And so I think it's really important for students to first understand that you're not alone.
Sure.
You are joined by many young Canadian grads that are in the exact same position. But then part two of that is finding ways in order to deal with it. So once you have a plan, you often feel like you have more control over the situation. And that's really the first piece. So students knowing that they can create a plan. And then we move into the third piece, which is, okay, now we have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And there's some tips and tricks in order to kind of crush that debt a little faster. And it really starts with, first off, developing a plan where you're making regular payments.
So like setting up a dollar amount per month.
That's right.
Type thing.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So you look at your budget, the big bad B word.
Yeah.
And yes, you have to have one. So if you're thinking that you can crush your debt without one, think again.
Yeah.
It's going to be really hard. You need to look at your monthly budget and then figure out, okay, how much can I comfortably afford? So maybe it's $200 a month, maybe it's $500 a month. Depends on the job that you have and how much you're spending in other areas. Then you look at the budget again and you go, okay, could I squeeze a little more? Could I cut back a few drinks out with friends or lattes or whatever your vice is, your little vice, and put some more of that onto the debt. The other really important piece here is to make sure that you're not paying too much in interest. So some of the rates are negotiable, others are not. Depends on where you got your loan from, whether it's a student line of credit, whether it's a government loan, but some of the rates are flexible. So negotiating with your lender is a really important component because the less you pay in interest, the more money that you put every month is going to go towards the outstanding balance, which is really what you want.
And it's not a scary thing. You can call up the bank and say, I want to talk with someone.
Absolutely.
And ask them straight up, I want to reduce my interest rate. How do I do that?
Yeah, yeah. And it doesn't hurt on that same phone call to talk to a financial advisor.
Sure.
How do I get out of this mess so quickly?
Yeah.
Or are there ways in which I can build up my savings while I'm paying off debt? So some of those important questions. Ideally, though, it comes down to sticking to your plan.
Sticking to that monthly amount and just kind of assuming it's a bill, right?
Yeah.
And so you just have less of your disposable because you're spending the $2, $3, whatever happens to be $100 a month.
Yeah. The other part of this is really important, and it's to know that the investment that a student has made in education is it's going to help pay off long term.
Yeah.
So there's like short-term pain, long-term gain. And your ability to earn income is much greater when you have invested in your education. So that should give students a little more comfort and excitement around the fact that they've made a great investment. In fact, it's one of the most lucrative ones that they can make.
Yeah, down the road, you're going to be working for 40 years.
Yeah.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Lesley-Anne, if people want to find out about you, how can they do that?
You can follow me on Twitter at Lesley Scorgie or at www.lesliescorgie.com.